Good morning, friends. My name is Miss Courtney. I am one of our branch librarians for Kent District Library. I work at our Kentwood and our Gaines Township branches. I'm currently in my home office. I am not at the library today, but I have a very special program for you. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to remind you that KDL is doing lots of fun streaming programs. So we stream story times in the morning. Miss Penny from our new Ada branch that is almost up and running does a What We're Reading for adults. We also have book talks for kids and youth. And we just launched a very fun teen talk show, challenge show. It's a literal hodgepodge. That's the name, is hodgepodge. So you can find that. You can find the first episode on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. But without further ado, I am here today for our KDL Curiosity Lab online Ask the STEAM Expert. And so I have been bringing you different STEAM experts from around Kent County. So today I have the pleasure of having Miss Morgan. So Morgan loves to fly airplanes. How many of you love to learn about airplanes? I do. They're so cool. So she flies for fun right now. But eventually she would like to become a pilot for one of the airlines. She discovered her love of flying at the airport, and it's the best because you can go anywhere. So I'm going to add Miss Morgan to our stream. Hi, Morgan. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Courtney.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing well. The sun is shining. At least it was last time I looked outside.
Beautiful.
It's still shining. We're good. So Morgan, you are a pilot. That's so cool.
Thanks.
So can you tell us, and I forgot to mention this, but if any of you have any questions for Morgan while we are watching or while we're talking, just leave them in the comments. I will see them and I will gladly ask Morgan your questions. But we saw that you love flying. You learned that you love flying from watching the airplanes take off at the airport. Can you tell us a little bit more about when you decided that being a pilot was it for you? This is the career that you want to follow, and what kind of steps you had to take to become a pilot? Because I'm sure it's not easy to learn how to fly those giant metal things in the air. Sounds very challenging. So walk us through that.
So I first discovered that I love flying at a young age. Going to the airports, taking off in the plane. Taking off was my favorite part. It wasn't actually until I was in college, though, when one of my friends had gotten his private pilot's license, which is what I have right now. And we went up in a small single engine plane, and he was just like, yeah, I'd take lessons, and this is a hobby that I do. I'm not going to pursue it, but it honestly made me want to pursue it as a career. And he kind of talked to me about like all the steps that you take to earn your ratings, earn hours, and then work your way up to becoming an airline pilot. So honestly, whenever I first had that first flight in like a smaller plane, that's when I was like, wow, I feel like I can do this. And from then on, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And did you ask about the steps?
Yeah. What steps, once you figured out like this is what I want to do, I want to be a pilot, what were those first steps that you had to take? Like, were there classes, or you talked about lessons? What did those look like?
Yeah, so the first steps that I took, and I'll say that there are many different paths to become a pilot, actually. Everyone has their own kind of path, but the one that I specifically took was first I enrolled in online ground school. It was self-paced. So I learned on my own, and in my free time, I just read a bunch of content on it, watched videos, took some quizzes, and that helped me a lot with my in-person lessons, because I already knew about what the instructor was talking about. I already knew somewhat about how the systems worked. So that was really, really helpful, and a bit more cost effective too. When taking lessons. So yeah, then I contacted a bunch of different flight schools, emailed them, called them. I kind of asked about what kind of school they are, what they offer, if they have, like, for instance, like a flight simulator, how many instructors they have at the school, how soon I can start taking lessons. And I found one in Holland. That's where I fly out of. And within a week, or within, I guess, a few days of contacting them, I was able to meet with an instructor, and we did like my first like discovery flight, which is kind of similar to, I guess, what I did with my, what I went on with my friend back in college, when he just kind of showed me, like, I guess, the, the introduction to flying. And yeah, from then on, the instructor just had lesson plans, and we did certain things and did some ground school as well, and learned about the weather, and then got prepared to take the check ride. So the actual, like, in-flight test. And that's kind of what you're leading up to when you're with your first license. Just basically just take a bunch of lessons with an instructor, do ground school, and then pass not only the check ride, but then there's also a in-person, like a written test. And then in addition to the written test, there's, so the check ride, it has the flight portion of the test, and then like an oral exam, which is basically an examiner just talking to you, having a conversation with you about all the different types of, or all of what goes into flying, whether that be the airspace or the weather, or just like the inner workings of the plane.
That's a lot of stuff. It sounds like a driver's test, but like cranked up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
top-notch speed, which makes sense. You're in the air, so there's probably a lot more that goes into it. So
Definitely.
yeah, I definitely vaguely remember learning in like high school physics how airplanes actually fly. Can you explain us into like very simple terms how an airplane is able to fly? Because if you look at these things, I think all of us, the first time we ever see, especially like an airline plane, I think as a kid, I was like, you want me to get in that and that is going to stay in the air? You have to be kidding me. So what are the physics that allows the plane to actually like fly? Because there is some science to flying.
Definitely.
We all know. So how does it work?
So basically, the wings are specifically designed so that whenever they move through the air, an area of high pressure is on the bottom of the wing, and an area of low pressure is on the top of the wing. And the difference in pressure actually helps the wing lift up in the air. That's how it helps it gain lift. So in the simplest terms, like in the planes that I fly, the small, like, single engine planes, they have the propeller. It's in the front. It's, helping the plane move, and then as it gains speed, there's the area of high pressure is on bottom, and the area of low pressure is on top. And then as it gets to a certain speed, then it's able to lift up in the air.
Oh, so it's more like floating than like a bird flying.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, it's incredible that they are able to do that. What's your favorite, like you said, is takeoff still your favorite part of flying? Or since you've learned how to fly, do you like when you're like reached your point, you're just kind of like floating along? Or what's your favorite part?
I think my favorite part is still takeoff, just because I just really enjoy looking down the runway with the runway center stripes in front of you. You're past the runway numbers, and it's just like, all right, here we go, full throttle. And then just that initial kind of back in your seat feeling. And then it's like, oh my gosh, we're going.
You also like roller coasters.
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now that I get that. I feel like if you like roller coasters, you probably enjoy the takeoff of a plane because it's like that adrenaline, like is it going to happen? Are we going to,
Yep.
would you always take off? But
Yeah,
there's always like that moment of adrenaline that's really exciting.
definitely.
So Morgan, you said that you have your private pilot's license, but you want to someday be an airline pilot.
Yes.
What is the next step that you have to take to get that pilot license? Because obviously they're very different planes. I'm assuming that a airline like Southwest or Delta, assuming those planes have quite a few more buttons, bells and whistles
Yes.
than a single engine plane. So what's next for you now that you have this initial license?
Yeah. So after my my private license, I'm currently working on getting hours and earning my instrument rating. So instrument rating is so that I can fly in like low ceiling, low cloud ceiling weather with low visibility, um, just kind of like not super sunny conditions. Just
So not today.
yeah, right. Today is a beautiful day. It would be great to fly, which I actually am flying later today.
How fun.
Yeah. But yeah, instrument rating is the next step. And then after that is commercial license. So commercial license is just basically saying that you can get paid to fly. And then after you get your commercial license, so the airlines require 1,500 total hours before you can get your airline transport license and fly for the airlines. So getting your airline transport ATP license would be the step that's right before landing a job with the airlines.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that's to build up to 1,500 hours. So for me, my plan is after I get my instrument license and then after I get my commercial license, I plan on getting my certificated flight instructor license so that I can teach others how to fly, and also gain hours that way. So yeah,
that's so cool. So how often do you fly each week?
it kind of varies, especially in the wintertime, because sometimes it's harder to, the days aren't as nice, so days aren't as sunny, so it's harder to fly. It's harder to be consistent in the winter. During the summer, I flew 3 times a week.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I tried to at least 2 to 3 times a week at least.
Cool.
But yeah, it hasn't been super regular right now just because the holidays and the weather and but I'm hoping to fly again, like get back into it at least twice a week during the winter.
Cool. Now, where do you usually fly? Like what part of, you said you usually fly, do you always fly out of Holland when you go flying?
Generally, yes. I have flown out of I have checked out a plane in Sparta so that like I can use their planes to fly there. But I mostly fly in Holland. That's where I learned. That's where I got my license. I'm familiar with everyone there. And yeah.
Now, when you said like, that's another question that I'm sure everyone has is like, do I have to own a plane to learn how to fly a plane? Because when you think of like a private license, I think people instantly think of like owning a private jet or something like that. So how do you get those hours in when if you don't own a plane, which is a very pricey thing to own, I'm sure, no matter how small.
Yeah. So I don't own a plane. I mean, the best way is just to go to a flight school and rent a plane. Of course, if you don't have your license, you have to fly with an instructor. And if you haven't been to that airport before and you wanted to use their plane and rent their plane, you would have to get formally checked out with an instructor. And so basically you go up with an instructor and you already have your license, and instructor is just making sure you're a safe pilot, making sure you can land safely, that the different landmarks around the airport, and making sure you're all good to go to fly on your own with it. But it's about 100 an hour to to rent the plane.
Mhm.
And I think it's unless you go in on a plane with someone, or unless you can just afford a plane, then I think it's a better to rent it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Mhm.
Awesome. So let's see what else. So you said about you had to learn about weather. So
Mhm.
obviously sunny weather is the best for flying. What's the absolute worst weather for flying conditions?
For flying, I would say if you experience wind shear or like a microburst. So wind shear is it's kind of unexpected. It can kind of happen. It normally happens when the winds are lower at the surface, but then just a few thousand feet up, it's like 20 or 30 miles an hour, or knots or miles an hour. Um,
Mhm,
and that's when basically when the wind just shifts in direction. So you could be landing on one runway and have the wind in your favor, and then all of a sudden the wind just shifts, and now you have, instead of a headwind, you have a tailwind. So you're actually going to be landing a bit further out than you wanted to, and you're going to be a little bit faster in speed as well than
ah,
you wanted to on touchdown. Yeah. And it's very sudden. And then a microburst is when it's raining, and basically there's just a huge burst of rain,
mhm,
and it happens for I think just a few minutes, but it's the difference between like a torrential downpour and just like casual rain, but like all of a sudden.
mhm.
Yeah, but I've
Yeah,
never experienced this.
that's my least favorite driving is when it's just, like, torrential downpour,
Mhm.
also snow, but, like,
Yeah.
that's just a given. Snow is just everyone's least favorite weather
Mhm.
to drive in, I hope.
Mhm.
I don't know
Yeah.
anyone that enjoys driving in the snow.
Yeah.
Um, awesome, that's so cool. Let's see, what other questions do I have? Again, if you're watching, you have any eager questions that I haven't asked, feel free to leave them in the comments. Probably can talk for a few more minutes. So get those questions in. So Morgan, I've asked everyone else that I've interviewed, if you were to pick a book character that was most similar to your career, or what you want to do in your career, is there a book character that you think has your job, has like the closest thing to the job that you want to get?
Oh gosh. I
Or movie character. I will also, we like to talk about movies as well and TV shows. So any character.
Okay. Um, I mean, I guess like I don't can it be nonfiction or real life?
It can be nonfiction. That is fine.
Okay. I guess either uh, Tammy Jo Schultz or Captain Sully. Um,
Nice.
yeah, just because. Well, I'll pick Tammy Jo Schultz because she's a woman, too, and she like saved this like I don't know if you know the story, but she was flying Southwest Airlines, and there was a depressurization within the cabin,
Mhm.
and I think there was one fatality. Um, I don't exactly remember all the details, but I know that she was able to get like the passengers back down and safe. And the depressurization was definitely like that was just a fluke. Um, um, but yeah, I would say her because she's I mean she's a hero, um,
Mhm.
and she's an airline pilot, and that's what I want to be. So yeah.
Yeah, so more like a hero, like that's like what you would like to be. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, we do have a question from the wonderful Miss Jackie. Hello, Miss Jackie. Thank you for watching. She's wondering if your college degree is related to flying or
That is a really good question. So, my college degree is actually not related to flying. I studied communication studies at Western Kentucky University. So, I have a bachelor's of the arts. But what I had heard from multiple different pilots, captains who interviewed from like Delta and some other airlines, is that you actually don't need a specific aviation related degree in order to become a pilot in the industry. what they're looking for in the airlines is that you have a degree. They don't care what you majored in. You could major in French or mechanical engineering or art or whatever. And as long as you have a degree, that's what they care about. Because what they care about is if you have enough hours for being a pilot, like if you have enough flight hours.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. So yeah, I know that there is another path. So you could there are aviation, like I know like Western Michigan University has an aviation program, and they have a ton of like flight students that way. And you can earn a degree while also getting flight hours at the same time. But it's just a different path. So yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but what about, so if someone were to join the military and decide, is that another path that they could take to becoming a pilot is through joining like the Air Force or something like that?
That is another path to take. I don't know a ton of information about that because it's,
it's not the path you took. So,
right, yeah. I know that it is possible. I know it is highly competitive for a pilot slot. And I know that maybe like 20, 30 years ago, most of the airline pilots were coming from the Air Force or the Navy. But now actually, because I guess not now because of COVID, but, within the past 10 years or so, they have had a pilot shortage, and which has resulted in a ton of pilots being picked up from the airlines from the civilian sector. So not necessarily from the military anymore. It's not like before, most of the airline pilots were ex-military, but now it's moving toward more like the civilian side.
Okay, good to know. Interesting. All right, Morgan. Well, I don't see any other burning questions. I think I have grilled you quite enough about pilot schools. Again, that's so cool. I wish you so much luck in getting your commercial license and all those steps. I hope the weather stays decent for you so that you can be flying this weekend or next week or get back to that. But thank you so much for sharing with us and for taking this time out of your schedule when you probably could have been flying. If you have, thank you everyone for watching, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this later in the day. A reminder that KDL is at this moment currently open only for curbside, so you can put items on hold through our website at kdl.org. But until next time, which will be 3 weeks from today, I'll be talking with some people from the Frederick Meyer Gardens. But until then, we'll see you next time.
So, I have one more thing to add.
Yes, go for it.
If there are any boys or girls who are interested in pursuing aviation, I'm a part of an organization called Women in Aviation of the Great Lakes chapter. We have extra aviation day kits for boys and girls. Just if you're interested, if any of them are interested in them in aviation, we have this thing called Girls in Aviation Day, and it's in September, which is already passed. But it's just a kit with just different things of like how to learn it or how to learn about it in a really, really fun and interactive way. So if anyone's interested, we have extra kits.
Yeah. So if you're interested, leave a comment on Facebook. I will get you in touch with Morgan. But thank you for sharing that. I love that you thought of that. But yeah, we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.